Redding is a beautiful place. We have national parks in 3 different directions, 2 world-class lakes. This is a sportsman's paradise, but it's also full of wonderful people. We have business leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, all of them working towards a singular goal, and that's to make this a great place to live. I wanted to showcase these people, give their perception of the place that they call home. This is AllRedding. So I'm here with Dustyn Kellar of Kellar Design.
Kellar Design, now curated by Kellar Design, which is a furniture and decor store.
And you guys, when did you open that up?
We're in the end of our 4th week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're located?
At the corner of Market and Tehama, right there on the most visible spot in Redding.
Have you been here? Have you been in Redding a long time?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what that used to be for years and years, right?
Kenpo Karate?
Kenpo Karate, Scott Halsey's
Yes.
Kenpo Karate, yeah.
Yeah.
They've changed that out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Modified that building a little bit, because
Yep.
it was a little old school, and now it looks really nice. You got all
Yeah.
glass. And
You know, it was the old Temple Hotel. So I rent the basement space too, which is the old whiskey cellar of
Oh,
the
really?
old Temple Hotel. So
we're talking Prohibition whiskey cellar?
Yeah.
Or very nice. What
Yeah.
is it? Is it still a whiskey cellar right now?
well, it could be.
Oh, there you
Right
go.
now it stores my stuff, but it could be.
So 4 weeks in, you've had your interior design company for
Yeah.
much longer than that.
Well, 5 years here in Redding. I did do a hiatus and took my family to Montana for 5 years and started Kellar Staging Company. And so I staged homes for real estate.
In Montana or
in
here?
Montana,
Okay.
yeah.
What years would that have been?
2003 to 2008-ish, came back when the market crashed and everything during the recession, and nobody was spending money on luxury items anymore.
What do you think of Montana?
It was cold. It was very cold, and it was gorgeous, like picturesque gorgeous
In the summer?
in the summer,
yeah.
and even in the winter, but you just didn't want to get out of your house or your car
Yeah.
to look out the window. It was wonderful.
I grew up in Alaska,
Oh,
and I've spent some time in Maine. And what I found is those places that are super buried in snow in the winter turn out to be the most gorgeous summers. I mean,
gorgeous. But they're in Bozeman, it's like 4 months long.
yeah. We had a saying when I lived in Alaska that we had all 4 seasons: winter, June, July, August. And I was talking to my aunt this morning who lives in Palmer, and she's like, I think I want to come spend, and she lived here for some time. We grew up in Alaska. She moved back, her and her family. And she said, I think I want to start spending January and February in Redding.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, and she was telling me some of the last few years, the conditions there. She lives in Palmer, which is a little north of Anchorage. Big dairy farms, Matanuska Valley. But she's like, yeah, 65-mile-an-hour winds with ice. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. Miserable.
Just miserable.
Straight out of a movie. It's like, I think of the movie The Thing. Remember John Carpenter, The Thing?
I don't.
Oh, it's like one of the greatest horror movies ever made with
I don't
Kurt
do
Russell.
horror.
It's also like psychological thriller type
Yes,
horror. But
I remember the title.
Yeah. So anyway, when she's talking, I was just like, oh yeah, I don't know how you spend any outside of the summer. I don't know how you spend there. So you went to Montana. It was super cold.
It was super cold.
Were you missing Redding the whole time, or?
I was.
Yeah.
I really was. I loved that, I love hiking. I love the outdoors. And as much as you think, well, Montana, but it's cold. It's uncomfortable. I had 3 littles. It wasn't easy or comfortable to be outside for very long, 7 months out of the year.
No.
And I just missed the mountains here and the lakes. They had mountain lakes there, but you'd have to drive a distance to get to a mountain lake. And it just wasn't like our lakes.
And those aren't like recreational lakes.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have some killer mountain lakes here. If you ever get into the Trinity
Oh,
Alps,
yeah.
I mean, there's some awesome, great trails,
And
small little ones.
I'm like, and I can be at the beach, and I can go to the city if I want to. And I felt very landlocked. It took a lot of hours of driving, or flying out of our little airport was super expensive, especially if you're trying to get everybody flown out of there. So I just really felt locked.
A little isolated.
Isolated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you come back in 2008. That's when the very famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We came back in 10, so.
Well, hopefully you bought real
2010.
estate when you came back in 10, because that was like.
We did. We bought the house that we're still in.
Then you got a
Yeah.
smoking deal.
Yeah.
You got a great deal.
Yeah.
Your
so
timing was perfect.
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 Couldn't have been better.
But did you have the design company right when you got back, or?
No, I went because nobody was spending money on that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, moving back to Reading, it was kind of like Reading wasn't known for design. Like,
Not yet.
It wasn't. It's
No.
gonna.
We've
But
had a little renaissance. Reading's going through a little bit of a
I
renaissance
agree,
period.
and I'm just jumping on this wave, and I just want to like take it. But moving back, it was a little depressing because a lot of Reading homes looked the same. It didn't matter if the house is a $150,000 house or $1 million house. It had the same finishes, and it was just bigger. But it was just very depressing. And but at that time, I went back to my job, which was nursing. I'm actually an operating room nurse.
Oh, wow.
And so went back to that and did that for years, and then just volunteered at my church, did events and did their stage set and stuff like that. And it's a stirring, so it helped with the cafe and all of that.
I'd heard that. I heard that you helped design.
Yeah.
The
Well,
stirring.
they did the initial design, was not me. I wasn't part of that team, but then I was brought in later. And so there's been some changes since then, and I was part of that. But I haven't been a part of that for a couple of years. But
Do you have, to me, when I think of interior design, it falls into the realm of art.
yes,
I don't know if it's,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
I'm an artist. I just move things.
Okay, good. So this is I'm not going to sound like an idiot.
No.
This is great. I'm on the right path. I
Yes.
feel so good. So I think of it like art. And when you think about artists, or at least when I do from the outside, they have a style, right? Picasso has a style,
Yeah.
Monet, so on. Do you have one style, or with design though, it feels like, yeah, but there's also trends. Like, you know what I mean? There's periods.
I think I do have a style. I mean, I know I have a style. And then I'm always like infusing a bit of my style into somebody else's style. So like when I staged homes, I really had to I'd go into some homes and I'm like, oh, I don't even know this style. And I was trying to use what they had. So I would go home quickly and Pinterest, internet, and just dig. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what the look they're going for. And then I would go back into the house and I got it. But now that I'm doing design, my influence is into everybody's kind of design. So they bring me in and they want mid-century. Well, you're going to see a little bit of me in there. And I would say what I am is not necessarily a style, but I love just organic, taking things from nature. Like I love woods and I love concrete. I love the metals. I'm not neutrals. Touch
You're
of
not
black.
neutrals? Or
I
you
love
are?
neutrals.
Okay.
I love neutrals and just like muted greens and blues. And so I love things to also tell a story. And so you're going to see that in all my designs.
Do you see your design shifting because trends shift? So like if you were to look at something you did 10 years ago, you go, oh, that's totally my 2014 period. I was in my such and such stage.
This
right?
was the red kitchen stage.
The red door stage. Everyone's like,
red door. Everybody had a red door.
Exactly. So that's because I was thinking, art, but at the same time, people are, this is, like you said, the red door. All of a sudden, everybody gets a red door. And you see minimalism, or my wife and I'll look at pictures of homes, and she can tell immediately. She's like, oh, that 1990, that was 94,
So do
95, that's 2006.
I don't base it on style. I base it on year.
Exactly. So because I don't think we know the vocabulary to say,
Yeah.
oh, that's so avant-garde. I don't even know what avant-garde means. But like you said, mid-century in there, and where my mind went. My mind went to the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant by mid-century?
Yeah.
Or no?
So people mid-century, because I think it's gotten I think a lot of people maybe in the lay or whatever feel like mid-century is just the black and white, but it really isn't. And it has so much, but they were really into style, and I can tell it by the shape of the furniture and the shapes of things.
I can picture it in my head. I almost can't use words, but I know I can. The table, and then the legs would be.
Yeah, the legs are usually angled.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going with. Yes,
Yeah.
lots of angles.
Yeah.
Is that like a Franklin Lloyd Wright type influence type thing, or you're like, no, Joe, you're
I don't
mixing
know.
your.
Yeah,
I love when I see
I
his houses
haven't
and stuff,
dug
that
too
geography.
deep, but
or
yes, I do love his
geology.
houses too.
I just said
But
three. I said two G words wrong. Geometry.
geology you put in there
I said
somehow.
geography. Then I said
Yeah.
geology. Then I was like, I'm getting close. I'm at that age. I think vitamins would help. Yeah,
I
please.
I think I've been doing it long enough now that I just kind of I'm not so into necessarily trends, and I I could be wrong, and I could like laugh at myself in 5 years and say that was a trend. You thought you were being like timeless classic, but that was a trend too, you know, because I do love a moody room, a dark room in a house. And that might even just be a trend, but and then the neutral colors, that might just be a trend, but um, I have painted plenty of red rooms, red doors, yellow kitchens back in the day.
I was thinking when you said mid-century, I also immediately I saw kitchen appliances with the kind of the that green
Yes, that's
or
what I see.
or
It's a
orange
seven,
with the
yeah.
chrome.
Even though mid-century is like 50s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's like goes into the kind of flows into
Am I
the
thinking
70s.
70s? Okay,
Yes,
I am.
into the 70s with the angled hardware and the green.
And the chrome handles on stuff.
Yeah.
They went really chrome crazy, and lighting fixtures changed a lot.
Yeah.
Right? You went from see, I don't. I'm nervous using the words like it. I feel like the word industrial keeps popping into my head. Do you know what I mean? They went from
Yeah.
ornate to this like. You see cool lamps. It's like that doesn't even make sense, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the hanging lamps and stuff like that. So that you like that style.
Oh, I like it, but that's not my style. No.
So how do you balance like when you get a client? Do you interview them and you're like, okay, hey, our styles are going to clash. Like you should go
No.
find somebody else or.
I will do that, but I meet with all my clients first. First, we jump on a phone call, and if I feel like okay, this can go now to me coming to their house. But sometimes just from the phone call, I can say, oh, you're definitely this person's style, or you're that person. I try to just kind of because I know a handful of designers in town, and I just kind of will filter it that way. If I feel like somebody else could serve them better, um, and then when I come into their home, I spend an hour with them, walking room to room, and just have them tell me how the room needs to function and the pieces they love. And kind of their assignment before I come is just to kind of get rid of everything you don't love, because my brain will try to incorporate it. I don't want to incorporate it or think of it as in my plan, because if you left a lamp and you absolutely hate it, but you didn't tell me that, I'm going to try to incorporate that lamp. So I might have something else in the room that balances that lamp. So I just need to know. So we walk through the house and I just need to know what's staying and what's going. And then from there, I pick the pieces that I feel are needed for the space to take it, to elevate it, and to make it function better. And I incorporate their style. So if they have a bossy cabinet that is from their grandma and they have to have it, then it just tells me how to pair their table with that. So I think I come in with more of a neutral.
I remember hearing years ago, there was a lady, Marissa Mayer. She's considered the business mind behind Google. And she said this thing about how artists love constraints. She said like the most intimidating thing to an artist is a blank canvas. So I don't know because I'm not an artist. Okay,
I agree.
that's what I was wondering.
And I think we're all different. And I've talked to other designers who they would much rather have a blank slate. And they're like, what you do seems very difficult to me. And I thought, oh, that's weird, because it's the opposite for me. I don't want a blank slate when designing for someone else. I want to see what you love. I want to see your start. You may not know what your style is, and I might not have a name for it either, but I want you to tell me, why do you love that sofa? Oh, I love the legs, or, I love the hardware on this. I picked this up when I traveled. Oh, you travel. Where did you travel? What did you like about that? I want to complete the story. Like, I feel like they've started.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, to me, I love the challenge. And so I love trying to find the piece that's going to tie their piece of art to their cabinet that is staying. And now we have to marry the two and make the whole room, make the whole house talk.
Do you treat like each room, is it like the room's a chapter and the house is a book type thing?
Yes,
That kind of, is that how you do it? Like,
for sure, it needs to all talk. I need to be able to pull the rug that I got, and I tell people this all the time. You know, I'm not only picking a rug for your bedroom, I want you to be able to mix this up. I want you to be able to pull that rug and put it in your living room, and take the rug from your living room, put it in your bedroom. Like, it should all, to me, talk, definitely. And maybe in the moody room, the stronger room, usually it's an office or a bathroom where I like to have just dark walls, but that is a color that's brought out from somewhere else in the rest of the house. A piece of art, a rug, something else.
do you ever, I would think like as you're doing this, you're almost like part therapist. I feel like you
Wow.
probably help a lot of people declutter
How
their
did you
homes.
figure that out?
Because I feel like it's such a personal thing to come into somebody's home and try to help them tell their story.
Yes.
That's what I just heard from you. And I thought that anyway, where like when it's one thing if you're like, oh yeah, I worked with a builder and I just design, or even with realtors where it's like, hey, this empty house, we have to stage it. That's the blank canvas. And you don't really have to worry about anyways feelings or anything like that.
Yeah.
This is like sell the house.
Yeah.
But when you talked about, you walk in, well, this is my grandmother's hutch. And you said, what was the bossy? That was the word you used, where it was a nice way of saying like, I don't know.
A lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay.
Extra. We'll use a word they use right now. Extra.
Yeah, I was thinking cluttered, but we'll go with it. Hutches are so blasé.
Yes.
But I just thought like I can see you having this therapy session with someone where they're like, well, your grandmother's hutch and your grandfather's chair, it's like we've got issues here.
Oh, it's even deeper than that. It's therapy for sure, because I'll be like, so what about this piece of art? And they'll be like, oh, that's from my husband's previous marriage. I'll be like, what the heck is it doing on your wall? Like, it needs to be done. Is that what you think every time you see it? Oh, it's out.
Hopefully it didn't have her portrait in it. That's
It
my
hasn't
husband's
been-
ex-wife.
It hasn't been that bad, but there's definitely pieces that are guilt. Why do you have that? Well, my mother-in-law gave it to me, and I feel guilty getting rid of it, but I've never liked it. Wow. So when you see that piece, you feel mother-in-law guilt. Get rid of it. She doesn't deserve that either, that's what you think of her every time you see that. You know, It's time to be done. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of therapy that happens. A lot of times I walk in and people are in overwhelm. Their house doesn't flow. They can't see it. Everything's a disaster. And I love it. I spend the day with them and you can just see the weight of the world, like just melting off of them. I come in, I'm like, just line your garage with boxes. There's going to be the donation. There's going to be the pack away. You don't have to throw it away. And then there's going to be the garbage. And let's do this.
That sounds like the nurse in you coming
Yeah,
out. The nurse and the artist get to meet.
They get
to work together.
Let's heal this.
Yeah, I like that.
So I've done a lot of those. I don't know with the start of Curated if I'm going to do a lot of the full day intensives of going piece by piece through people's houses. As much as I love it, it is a lot of work, but I do love it.
So you threw in Curated, which is the new showroom.
Yes.
And so does that mean you've shifted into furniture sales,
Correct.
right? So it's a little bit of...
So when I go through people's houses, when I spend that first hour with them, we come up with a list, like a shopping list. And I shop my vendors. I go to market. I handpick all the vendors I want to carry based on quality, style, things that I can see in most houses that I go into. And then I kind of create a digital shopping basket with a room board of their room. And it also has like the 3D layout of their space so they can see. And I can keep their furniture in there. So if they want to keep that sofa, I leave that sofa in there, but then I add chairs or whatever. So I can create this for them. And this is what I've been doing for 5 years. But there was a disconnect because people want to touch and feel things.
Yeah.
They just really do.
Tactile.
Yeah. And I would go to market and I would ask people to trust me. But that's hard. and I'm keeping notes. That was a comfortable chair, that was, that was made well. And I'm trying to keep like mental notes of the pieces I touched and talking to my rep, but it was difficult. And so I'm like, oh, I should have a showroom, a studio that my clients could come to. And then it's like, why not just open it up to the people of Reading? I mean, it wasn't that fast of a decision, but it has been a game changer. Now, not only can my clients come and touch and feel the things that I've chose for their home, but people can just come in and buy one thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that all day session.
The all-day
are you
session?
transitioning?
Yeah. So right now I have a full day styling. It's still on my services that I come in with my team, and we come in there full day. Like whatever we can get done in a day, we rehang art, we move furniture, we restyle, we reposition rugs. Usually that happens after I've already been there for an hour. We've done the shopping list, we've made the purchases, and everything's arrived. So now the styling day, that full day, I'm incorporating what I bought and bringing it into the space. But at that same time, we're getting rid of things that I just can't incorporate into the design. It's a full day.
Any, I'm thinking conflict issues. I'm wondering if the guys like, my mother gave us that. I can see like there's potential for some, like I said, but like therapy, there's going to be some gnashing of teeth, some tears.
There is. So there's kind of an assignment before I come in. Like they just really need to go through the house. I ask that all parties involved, like go through the house. And you guys need to decide what's staying and what's going. And hence there's boxes in the garage, and that's just a holding spot. But I can't use it in the design that I'm doing right now. Doesn't mean that someday you won't bring it back out. So
I'm wondering, do you find yourself helping, because I'm visualizing all this, and I'm seeing you help a couple and go, and then this will be the man room. And this is where all this cool stuff can go in one, like all the stuff that you're like, we have to get rid of this. Look, your mother-in-law's or your mother's would look so great in your man room. So I guess maybe I'm making a presumption that a lot of your clients are female, right? Or at least
they're both. I think
both?
Equal.
Is it?
I feel like it's pretty equal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I pictured that.
Isn't that,
I think because you
interesting.
mentioned something about the mother-in-law, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I wonder if you used her mother-in-law and that through it, or if I was just thinking.
I feel like we think, and I think that was maybe a big surprise to me in all this, is it's usually one or the other. And there'll be husbands that bring me in, and the wife just looks at the husband. I don't know, he cares more. He cares more.
Okay.
And it's pretty equal.
Well, we remodeled our house, and my wife did everything. I had one input, and that was fine. And honestly, the one input was a one, so I'm projecting.
Yes.
I'm just thinking like, okay, well, it's my wife that I kind of don't care. As long as things are clean.
Yeah.
I'm like, as long as I can smell bleach, I'm at home. I'm happy, but.
So I get strategic when there's things that necessarily I don't want. I just make sure they're not in the line of sight. I'm like, okay, we have to have all these pictures. Let's make a gallery wall, but I just don't want it in line of sight. So like looking into an office room, maybe the wall that's connected to the door is the gallery wall of maybe the pictures that I don't necessarily find pleasing, But I can make them into a gallery wall.
Like the portrait of the ex-wife.
Yeah, right, the portrait of the ex-wife. And then hutches or not hutches, but I don't call them hutches. But a cabinet with like glass doors is a great way to like, okay, let's take the award or the thing and like let's group it together and put it in there, and then let the piece be exciting itself.
Is transitioning, is Feng Shui real? Is that a real thing? Do you adhere to it?
Feng Shui, I
even said it wrong. Feng Shui is not a real thing. Feng Shui is a real thing, though.
I really don't know much about it. I think the thing that always comes to mind when I hear Feng Shui, it's like they say that your feet should always be facing out the door, I think. Because people will say that to me when I place a bed. They're like, but Feng Shui, your feet need to be facing out the door. And so I don't know enough about it.
I thought it was this flow, because as you were talking,
that's the only thing I know about it. I've never done any research.
So maybe it is. Because when you were talking, you can you talk about the story and then the flow and the layout. And I don't know anything about Feng Shui. The only thing I know is that the only thing I remember is that people wanting to put mirrors in short, like if there's like you open the door and there's a wall right there, put a mirror. So it gives
Yeah.
depth or something like that.
And I'm sure there's a ton of things that I do that are Feng Shui. I just don't know that they're Feng Shui. Like, I feel like a desk in a home, well, desks in general shouldn't face a wall. Like, your back should face the wall, then it should be your desk, and then the desk should be facing like a window or a door or something. But to me, it's more energizing than to work in that environment than your desk against a wall and you're facing a wall. Things like that. Mirrors for illusion. I like to, if there's a great view and then I have a blank wall across it, it's like, let's put a mirror there so it reflects the view of outside and gives the illusion that there's a window there, and it makes the room space bigger. So there's definitely tricks that we use, and line of sight. So yeah, maybe would I face the feet of a bed out the door, because when I look in the door, I want to see my bed situation as a whole, So yes, so some of those principles are probably Feng Shui.
That was the word that I
Yeah.
think when I think of interior design.
Yeah.
I'm on the outside looking in. You're
Yeah.
talking to a guy who don't let the cool threads fool you. I don't put a lot of time and energy into aesthetics and stuff like that. I mean, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But it's
You probably notice it and feel it inside and you don't know why.
Yes.
Like you go into a nice hotel and you walk in and you're like, oh, this is amazing in here. And it's
Yes.
just the lighting and the light, how they lit the space, and the rug and the chairs that welcome you.
When I see designs that I like, I notice Northern European minimalism. I really appreciate that. Like when you see some of the Scandinavian stuff, and I don't like clutter. I know that.
Yeah.
Yet, as I say that, I know a couple of my spaces are cluttered.
Yeah.
And it's the other thing I like is I don't know if there's a name for this, but I really like there's this. It's like Northern Europe meets Japan, and you started to see some of these designs where you would see the exposed wood, and you know how like the Japanese wood, it's not perfectly geometrical. They always have like you know what I'm talking about, versus when you look at Northern Europe, everything is 90-degree angles. Everything's 90-degree angles.
More organic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
feel
Japanese
to it,
has
just
a little bit.
kind of not perfect lines. Yeah.
And it's like the two come together. And it kind of like, I've never really enjoyed typical crown molding, where the lines,
No.
it's too ornate. And
Yeah.
then somebody will, I
I
like
agree.
it. I think this, I like this style right here, where the base, the trim is very geometrical. And so I think, started to get really popular in the 80s. I remember seeing it. I was down in Orange County. You would see it a lot. There's a lot of, I think, a Japanese influence down there, but it was like just a little bit of Japanese.
I think that's when I say that my style is more organic. Organic to me, when it comes to design, is something you'd find in nature. So not straight edges, right?
Do you you work on any projects that they didn't go well? And
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's common in our.
I was wondering how
Yeah.
common, because I feel like what you're doing is so personal
Yeah.
and so subjective. And then on top of that, if you were to, like I said, I felt like it was like a form of therapy to interject yourself into someone's home, and there's two people, and you touched upon it, the mother-in-law thing or something, that it just seems very difficult, or I guess for me it would be a very challenging endeavor.
See, I think this is twofold. I think of two things when you're talking. First thing is, I love the styling aspect of things and bringing in furniture and doing that part. And I actually love the therapy part of that too. And I think that's, like we said, is the nurse in me. I talk to patient after patient, and I work in surgery. So they're kind of they feel super vulnerable. Being in the hospital, you feel vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
But going to surgery, you feel even more. Somebody's going to be in control of your body for the next couple hours,
Yeah.
And I'm their advocate when they're asleep. And so I have to reassure them that everything's going to be okay and that they're in good hands. And so I feel like that has translated into reading a couple. You know, when I go in there and I can sense maybe he's getting upset or she's not understanding or they're, you know, that person's not on board. So I feel like I'm pretty good at that. Just
You'd
because I
have to
have
be.
so many years
Yeah.
of experience of just reading subtle movements, answers, words, tone, doing all that. I work with surgeons, you know, in high stress situations. So always just being aware of all those things has
What a great
made me-
strength.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but if you say, you know, what have you had any bad stories? I think yes, and those stories I don't see necessarily as failures, just as directional things. I used to help. I used to do remodels and pick selections and things like that, but I found it very difficult when somebody changes something in a plan and being able to, I mean, this is hard for me to articulate, but I think it's not my strength to be strong enough to say, you cannot change that. Changing that one element because you found a tile like the one I chose, but it was on clearance, and now you want to change that tile, changes everything. And that happens all the time in my experience. And that's probably because maybe they sensed from me my lack of confidence in like being strong and like saying no. I feel definitely more confidence in a house saying, you know, yeah, your recliner has to go, than like, no, you can't have that clearance tile, you know. I don't know.
Because I imagine budget, well, there's two things you're going in there, but you brought up the whole clearance title twice, and I would imagine some of the initial conversations are very expense centric. It's very much, how much is it going to cost? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you from listening to you and definitely checking out your Instagram, you have really nice taste, by the way.
Thank you.
So I don't imagine a lot of the stuff you get is discounted.
No. And that's easier for me in furniture, I guess, than in construction. And construction was, and I just learned for me, it was just a little bit more intimidating. It was for clients, they're making these big decisions, and I'm helping them and guiding them and making these really big decisions. And then they might panic or something at the budget because maybe this costs more than they thought, or they wanted this, and then they're trying to find ways, and so then they're like, well, let's not go with that lighting, and then they change that. But that's going back to a house is a book, and each thing is a chapter, and everything plays off each other. And so I just personally learned about myself that I have a hard time pivoting, hard time not taking it personal. And
Everybody does.
yeah, and I was just like, but I get so dead set, like that is like, this is beautiful, it's gonna look amazing, and then you change one thing, I have to start tweaking everything, and then before you know it, I'm like, this isn't my design. I feel like I was just kind of a hand holder now.
Well, I imagine people will not want to tell you that it's money, and they'll say something like, well, I really don't like that, I like this, and it's somehow because they don't want to come off cheap.
Yeah.
And you have to you probably pick up that read at some point where you're like, this really isn't about them liking A over B. This is about them, you know, A is financially making them uncomfortable.
Yes.
Does that happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think sometimes they're like, yeah, do it all. And I want this and I want that. And I want the heated floors and I want the...
He doesn't.
And everybody wants it all, but I'm just thinking, cha-ching. Oh, I think my lighting budget just got eaten, you know, like, and trying to, in the end, I don't like doing that. And I really realized with the start of, you know, just really pivoting strong to just staying within styling, furnishings, because that's what I love. That is deciding that is what the lane I want to stay in.
Do you deal with any like antique furniture? Do you find yourself in that, or is it like, hey, this is all new stuff, or are you somebody who goes and finds old pieces?
So I do have old pieces in the shop, but not necessarily furniture. I have some end tables So when I go to furniture market, there are some vintage like warehouses that I can dig through. And so I have jars and lamps made out of old jars and some kind of artifact like styling elements and things like that. Stools, things that aren't like, I just don't, beds and I don't deal in the furniture side of antiques.
Oh, okay.
Just because, I don't know, that's a whole other realm to me, I feel like. And the construction is a lot different. The drawers, I've had enough antique furniture to know, like, that's a great chest of drawers, but it's just going to be a pretty thing in the entryway because it's very hard to open and close those drawers, things like that.
We just have, it seemed like there were periods in America with manufacturing where things were, it's probably, as I start to say this, is probably what's the same way now, is there was really good architecture, really good design, and there was also junk. And so, sometimes from a distance, they look identical. But when you start to interact with them, like you said, these drawers are a nightmare. The ones that go back, that shift back and forth. Versus,
you're just trying to get it out smooth.
There's no guide track,
Yeah.
and wood is expanded and contract and stuff like that.
So that's a whole other realm that I haven't entered, and maybe someday, but there's a lot of knowledge that has to be attained so that you can decipher between junk and not junk. And I'll just admit I don't have that knowledge base on antiques.
I'm going to throw some questions at you that, if you don't know, you don't know. I was wondering if there are any local, like furniture makers, or is there anybody local artist-wise that you?
Yeah, we actually have a handful.
Yeah?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I've been in touch with a handful of furniture builders in town, and I hope that, or craftsmen, that I can start bringing in some of their pieces.
Perfect.
But I have used on like for custom closets and custom pieces. So absolutely. We are amazing that we have more than people even know.
I thought so, and you can find some of them, Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
They're trying to get their work out there. So, based on what you just said, if you are a local craftsman and you're trying to get your work out there, come by.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm already talking to a handful of them, and they're like, I'm like, just make me something cool, that I could use in people's homes. I want it to be a piece of art. So.
How much is your family involved in this? Is this you? I know you have a team.
Yes, and
right?
So it's my family is my team.
Okay.
And so I have my oldest daughter who's my admin. She graduated Chico State with her business degree, and so
Good job.
She's my admin. She takes care of everything. Really, she does my point of sale and my invoicing and tracking and ordering. And then my youngest is 18 at Shasta College, and she works in the retail space.
Okay, so somebody comes in and wants to potentially buy a piece.
Yeah, you're going to
Your
see
youngest is going to be on the floor.
Yes.
And your other daughter is going to check you out and
They
take
both,
your money.
They both check you out. My oldest one, if we're doing deliveries or styling, she's with me. And so then the youngest is checking people out. So there's usually two of us in the shop at any given moment, unless we're not. I mean, it's very short windows. We try to.
When are you guys open?
We are open Tuesday through Friday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then Saturday we're open to smaller hours. So today we're open. Well, today's a Saturday. We're open 11 to 4 today, and so. And then I do have a photographer who I just called part of my team because honestly, I couldn't showcase what I am without her.
Your photography is beautiful on your Instagram account.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
she's amazing. She loves it. She is super creative, and we have a blast. And then I also have another girl who's going to Chico State for interior design, and she loves it. So
nice.
She loves coming to the houses with me, getting measurements, and helping dream them up.
I saw a post that you had that I really liked, and you talked about your mother-in-law and her. How did you put it? Like living in the moment and making big experiences out of little things.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely, she is definitely an influence in the things I do because I didn't grow up this way. But I think I use the analogy of a cup of hot cocoa. If you went to our house to have a cup of hot cocoa, you're going to get whipped cream, you're going to get the sprinkles, you're going to get the cinnamon stick, a peppermint stick in your hot cocoa, and it's going to be on a plate, and it's going to have a spoon, you know? That's how it was there. You go to my house, I'm going to tear open a package of hot cocoa mix, put it in a cup, I might stir it for you. You know, that was kind of the difference. And me growing up, and then just watching how she put so much intention into all of the smallest tasks, and how it just made you feel special and cared about.
Yeah.
And so I knew that when I was opening the store, I had to think about those kind of details for people in their homes too, because I wanted anybody to come in and be able to buy something. So I do have the things like the nice kitchen towels and rags, so that it looks nice on your counter, you know, and nice lotions and soaps to add to what it all looks like.
I bet if I walked in, your store smells excellent too.
It smells amazing.
I was going to say.
I mean, we handpicked all our candles. Like, we smelled so many candles. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite. No, this is my favorite. But she really just, I think I really learned that the small things, that when you go to somebody's bathroom and they have the nice containers of soap and they have a nice hand towel for you, it just makes all of the difference.
Do you have any idea where she got that? Is that like, I mean, did she ever tell you why? Like, hey, we grew up in I grew up in a Four Seasons, and that's why I'm like this.
She grew up at, like a ranch, like living and just out in the country, and Mom and Dad were out milking the cows, and the sisters were taking care of the house and cooking the food. Like, I don't know if I don't think her mom had the time to take care of them in that way. But I think it was also the generation, like it was the Martha Stewart generation.
I was thinking Martha Stewart when you said it.
Yeah. I
Totally.
think it was just like probably when she was having babies, it was Martha Stewart, and how Martha Stewart was really into hospitality and just taking care of people.
Attention to detail.
Oh, the detail. Yeah. And so just getting to watch my mother-in-law and how she still treats us and anybody who comes into her house.
So if I come over, is the cocoa going to have the whipped cream?
Yeah, it's going to have all the things.
All that at your house?
Things. So, at my house.
I'm trying to figure out, did you fully absorb it, or did you just appreciate it?
I didn't fully absorb it, but I absorbed a lot of it. Yes. It'll be close. Not as great.
Is that like the word intention?
Yeah, I think that's what I think the word I used was just everything had intention. Like, she thought about every detail.
I've been trying to, I have been at my age, I'm 52, and I'm still growing and changing. And so
Constant.
So I'm like, one of my things that I'm trying to implement is more confine yourself to the present. I very much am someone who lived in the future and the past.
Yes.
Anxiety, depression, right? Like, and so confine yourself to the present. And I felt like, as I've been reading and trying, setting intention in the moment helps.
Yeah.
Because when you're ripping open a packet and pouring the hot water, and you're thinking to yourself like tomorrow, versus when you're sitting there and you're like, oh wait, whipped cream and then chocolate shavings would be good. Like, you're in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that this has always been a human struggle. So much of what we go through, it feels very much like, no, that's totally 2024. And then you read something from Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or even the Bible, just, Christ talking. It's like, oh, that they were going the exact same thing we're going through.
Yeah.
It does seem a little faster paced. Like
I
the
heard
world we live
something,
in.
I was just listening to a book. I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of books.
Me too.
So sometimes
Guilty.
I can't keep them straight. But it was like, it said in the Bible, Jesus said, walk with me. He didn't say run. He said, walk with me. And we're so not walking through life.
No.
And then another thing I heard that I think the last 2 days listened to, and I was like, wow, it was when you're not present, when you're full of anxiety or fear, which I spent a lot of my life that way, and you're not present in the moment, you don't remember that moment at all.
True.
So then I try to think back of like, well, what were my kids at 6? And what were my kids at, when did they do swim? And what was that? And I'm like, why don't I remember? And then I always like felt guilty that I didn't remember a lot of their childhood. And it was because I was anxious. I was in a hurry. I wasn't thinking of the hot cocoa. I was thinking of X, Y, and Z and all the other things. And how was I going to afford the hot cocoa and the thing that I had to do the thing? And before you know it, that moment's gone and there's no memory of it.
And you everything you just said was in the past. You've gotten past that?
I think I've done a lot of, I'm almost as old as you. Not quite as old as you, but
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think it's a second stage of life thing. Like when we stop and we slow down and we say, wait, what just happened? That just blew right by. And then my daughter, my oldest, has a baby. And it's like, whoa, okay, how are we doing this different? I cannot do this second half. And then just doing a lot of soul seeking and reading and like, oh, I can see it. I don't want that for them. So what can I do to teach them, to guide them, like, slow down, be in the moment. And so yes, so it's new for me. It's really new. I mean, I'm an OR nurse still, and I really realize how much of I've spent the first half of my life fight or flight at work and at home. It's go, 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 go. That rest and relax wasn't happening. And because it wasn't happening, I wasn't gaining memories. I wasn't gaining just time. Time was just fleeting because I was always just preparing for the next thing, you know.
That hits home.
And my job was that way, but I couldn't turn it off. I just come home. Get your shoes, get your thing, get in the car, get the bag, get stuff out to prepare for dinner, start that, and I just lost there's so much guilt in my raising of my kids. And so I'm just like, okay. So I read something, and it was like, how do you create an anxious adult? Hurry them as a child. And I was like, whoa. So I definitely was like, called my daughter up. Don't hurry him. Let him take his time putting his shoes on. Don't hurry him. You know, because my kids all, I don't want to cry, but my kids all deal with anxiety in different ways.
We all do.
And it was, I think a lot of it is like, hurry, hurry, hurry. We're in a hurry. Get that done. Finish the thing. Instead of, take your time, put your shoe on. Oh, he loves that rock. Let him climb on it for a second. You know?
Guilty.
Get on the ground.
I'm a sympathetic crier.
Yeah.
So I have to warn you. I'm gonna have to stop looking at you in a second because I am a
Look away.
I'm a super sympathetic crier. I'm a crier anyway. I wasn't, and my oldest daughter was born. She's 19.
She did it.
And like two things. I learned fear.
Oh.
So I was in the Marine Corps, and I've been in combat situations, and I don't remember being afraid.
Oh.
But I remember being afraid as soon as my daughter was born, and having mass anxiety. And a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me because I'm a very anxious person, and my wife all the time. Remember this? No. I've told a few of my friends this story. That my father-in-law right now is dealing with dementia really, really bad. And he has been for several years, but I don't know, a year or so ago, him and my wife were like, remember when you brought that dog home, that little dog you saved? And I'm all, what? And they go, remember that little Chihuahua? You brought it, you found it. And I'm like, what? And my father-in-law, who's got dementia, is like, yeah, I remember it was that little brown dog and you had it for 2 days. And I'm like, what's he talking about? My wife's like, yeah. And then you found the owner. And remember the owner didn't act like really grateful. It was a really weird thing. And you're like, I wish I would have just kept that dog. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, nothing.
Nothing.
I have none of that. I can't, even telling you the story, it's not sparking anything.
Yeah.
Right? And so I've spent my adult life being very anxious.
Yeah.
And I realize, and when you say that, like, I need to slow down because I still have, my daughters are 19 and 17. My oldest is at St. Mary's. My youngest is at Shasta College. She graduated a little early. and wanted to stay home for a little bit longer. Stay as long as you want.
Stay as long as you want.
And then my boys are 11 and 14, so I've got little ones. So I'm gonna take. I learned something today. I'm gonna take some advice, and I'm gonna slow things down. Thank you very much for that. I
Yes,
appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
So I'm gonna shift so that we both don't
Shift.
start crying. Okay.
No crying.
Whew. Oh, let it out. Let it out. Let it out. I wanted to talk about two things. I want to talk about a lot of things, but one of them is, what is your favorite wood to work with when you're inside a home? It seems like oak is very popular here. And if you don't have
Yeah.
one, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
But do you find like some other woods you're like, I really like because you said natural, so I don't know. I was thinking woods. I don't know my
love
woods.
walnut.
Oh yeah, who doesn't?
I love walnut
Yeah.
and maple. But see, my husband builds wood furniture, so we've always been around wood.
Oh really?
And so,
I imagine there's some on the showroom floor.
there isn't. Only my kiosk is made by him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just he's remodeling our bathroom right now.
Good man.
And, yeah, and he has a lot of hobbies. I mean, he's builds out Sprinter vans, and we've redone Airstreams, so he's
that's
torn in a
right.
lot of directions. So I don't have any of his furniture right now, and maybe one day, we leave it open to him that if he's an artist, he doesn't like to be forced to make a piece of furniture, but he'll just like get inspired and he'll build a table or something. So it's open for him whenever he wants to. But wood, I love walnut. I love the natural color of walnut. I'm not so into stained wood. I like natural colors. And so like white oak is it doesn't need to be stained. It's a beautiful color. It's not too yellow. It's not too green. It's not too red. So that's kind of why I like white oak. I like that it's popular right now because to me it's natural. So
Okay.
I'm not into stain.
There you go.
There you go. Let's just say it. I'm not into stain. I like natural colors of wood.
And I like when you go into kitchens. This has probably become pretty popular in the last few years because I've seen it. I love the butcher board countertops.
Yeah, I have all butcher block in my kitchen.
Butcher block. Sorry,
Yeah.
butcher board. I was so close.
You're so close, but
I had the
you were
B,
there.
the
Yeah.
butcher and the B. It was so close. Not bad for a guy who clearly doesn't have any design background. But I like that when you go in and you see that. And I also noticed it's that, for lack of a better way to put it, is the Connecticut kitchens are very popular. And I don't even know if that's the right way.
What did you say?
The Connecticut kitchens.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Because I made it up.
Okay.
It's that style that I just think of, like when I see it, I'm like, Connecticut. Like, I don't know. I've never been to Connecticut, but I'm like, this is what all the kitchens in that state look like.
I'm going to be looking that up.
Yeah, I don't think it's a real thing. I think I made it
Okay.
up. But they all have butcher block. I almost said board again. Butcher block. They have that blue. They'll have blue cabinets underneath, but they'll have white or gray cabinets up top.
Okay.
They'll have.
That seems very coastal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Connecticut on the coast? Yeah, it's Connecticut's on the coast,
There
right?
you go.
I'm like, yeah.
Don't
that's
ask me.
Geometry, geology, geography.
Geography.
Okay, it's different geo word. So I want to talk about, I had another question I wanted to ask about your favorite project, but I'm afraid, because I get sidetracked, that we won't get to talk about remodeling Airstreams.
Oh.
Because I love watching, there's a few of these videos I watch where these people, they either take Sprinter vans and turn them into living
Yeah.
quarters, or they'll completely remodel Airstreams. Airstreams are
And we've done both. Yeah.
and I love Airstreams.
Yeah.
I love the
Nostalgia.
yeah.
Just the shape.
yeah.
cool.
I'm thinking space and thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of when Leonardo DiCaprio's in The Aviator and he's like, it's got to be all smooth steel. And I think of the Airstreams.
Yeah.
So I imagine you probably do that to sell them, right? You remodel them, sell them.
We bought one for us and we remodeled it, and then people saw it, like when we'd be at a campground or whatever, and so then people would have us come and like, can you look at this one with me? Could it be built out? And then we did buy another one out of somebody's backyard, and then somebody they would come to our house, and work on it. He wanted to build it out with my husband. He wanted to learn, and so he just would come, and they would work on it together. And that's a couple that they lived in it for a little while, and so the two, and then beyond that, just advice, going to people's houses and giving them, walking them through their Airstream, and giving advice on, first off, is this a good one to purchase? And then once they did purchase it, like, this is what we would do. My husband is definitely more, I was more the design and the labor, a lot of polishing.
I bet.
Yeah, but he's definitely the more technical, the plumbing, the wiring, and all that. And then we did vans, and then so we had the Airstream, and then we bought. What came first? Oh, he had a friend buy a Sprinter van and asked if he would build it out, and so he built that one out. And then it was like, ooh, we want to do this for us, so we bought a van, not a Sprinter. We bought another, I can't think, Ford Transit, and built that out for to sell. But I say for us because we just kind of used it a little bit, and I fell in love with it, and he ended up selling it. I wasn't very happy. I shed some tears, but it's not our season to have it because it's definitely for two people on road trips, and we still have a daughter in the house, and it's not our season. And he reminded me of that, like, it's not our season yet. Let's sell this one, and we'll build ours.
But you do have the Airstream.
We don't.
You don't have the Airstream either.
We sold it to Cave Springs because we're not in that season either.
I was going to say, you're too busy to be traveling. You got too many things going.
We're just in between seasons because the Airstream was great with the girls, but it's too big for the two of us.
They can be huge. I've seen the triple axle ones, but they make the little ones too.
Yeah, but it was just, it's a lot of work for two people, and we realized we'd rather just be off-road, and they're not off-road.
No.
And we have a Bronco, and we would rather be off-roading and then like camping or whatever. And so, or, I mean, ideally the van can go off-road. That's how we would rather do that, and not in a campground. And we really realized that with an Airstream, but it was convenient with kids. And so our season of the Airstream was just over, you know. We rented it out. We put it on Outdoorsy. It was rented for a while. People would just rent it, but that was a lot of work.
I bet.
It was.
It just takes one person to
And
do a little bit extra damage. And
yeah, we rented the van out, and some guy brought it just trashed, and it was like, okay, no more renting the van out either. So we stopped renting both of them out, and sold the Airstream to Cave Springs. So it's up there now, and then sold the van.
So it's the season right now
and it's done. Yeah, the season is curated.
Curated and
creating a legacy.
And the fact that you're still in the OR.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think like the time and still raising kids and yeah, you got a lot going. You're a very busy lady.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, years ago I had Coach Todd Franklin on, and he just talked about I can't remember how he put it, but he said people that are busy find time to do things, and people that don't, like, they never have time. Like the people that never get anything done, they don't have any time. And the people that are like, how did you find the time to do that? I think I don't know if I'm just, I mean, you gotta remember, this is the brain that can't remember the dog he brought home for 2 days. But I think he said something like, one of the laws of thermodynamics, that a body in motion tends to stay in motion, a body at rest tends to stay at rest. Right?
Yeah.
And so he was talking about, like, just because he's one of these guys that's got like 99 things going too, and getting it all done. And I was like, man, I was very motivated by him. I don't know if you know Todd Franklin.
No.
He's a great guy. He introduced me to a lot of other people. He, along with the Resners, started the food truck park.
Okay.
So yeah, they were big into that, and he's a coach, the basketball coach for the men's, for Simpson College men's basketball.
I'm sure I do, but I don't have a great memory either.
Yeah,
so I'm sure I've met him.
You're gonna be hard to beat the story I just told about
Yes.
not remembering the dog for 2 days, and that wasn't like 30 years ago. That was like 5 or 6 years ago.
And they showed you a picture, and you still nothing.
No, they didn't have a picture.
Oh, okay.
They just said, "Remember, you were so attached to that dog," and I'm like, "No."
No, I don't.
And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, you found it, and it was on the freeway. It was running across the freeway, and it had my wife's like, it had a name tag with a name, and she's like, you got on Facebook, and that's how you found the owner."
Oh my gosh.
And the owner came, and she was just like, they weren't like really grateful. They were like, "Thanks." It's my dog, you know? And I was like, well, he was in the middle of I-5. My wife's like, yeah, you were driving an I-5 and the dog was running around and you pulled over and like got the dog. I don't remember any of it. And I promise I wasn't on anything. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I wanted to ask you about your favorite project when you think about like, yeah, that was my piece de résistance, your masterpiece. Do you have one?
I do.
Oh,
I do,
let's
just
hear it.
because they totally trust me. I mean, it's hard to tell about it, but just I was brought into a house. It was already a beautiful house. I guess that's why it makes it your favorite. And they already had, you know, you walked in and you're like, this is a beautiful house. And so to me, that's a little bit more of a challenge. Yeah, I can walk into a house that's, you know, kind of disheveled and stuff. And yeah, anybody could walk through and kind of do a few things to make it look better. But this house was already beautiful and it had been remodeled and it was already beautiful, but it just didn't feel complete to them. And so to be able to come in and they fully trusted me to be like, let's add some wallpaper there. They're like, yeah, and wallpaper in that room. Oh, and let's, you know, paint this room and let's do this huge room all dark and drop a chandelier in the middle and
Oh my.
big drapes,
Oh my.
like velvet drapes, and make this and leather chairs, and let's make this like a lounge. And they were like, let's do it.
I'm picturing the ball from Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, and so it's that one's still in process right now.
Oh, okay.
But I love that what makes it my favorite is they trusted me. They already had something beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was able to just nudge it to be a little bit better. And I don't know, that's fun to me.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. And so we brought in some furnishings and, like I said, some wallpapers and some dark paint, and it's just coming together so well.
Very nice.
So that would probably be one of my favorites. I mean, I have a favorite time, like a favorite client where I was brought into a home and I used to, that's what thing might change, but I used to just go into people's houses cold turkey, like they could just schedule and I didn't even have a call or anything with them and I just walk in. And this is probably one of the reasons I may have changed it, but I actually loved it. So, but to walk into a hoarding situation and the person just wants just wants to love their space again, but they're overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that they have acquired and they don't even know where to begin. And this particular house, I kind of wanted to just turn around and say, you're not ready for me, you know, do X, Y, and Z. But I was like, she was so sweet. I'm like, I could do amazing things in a day, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, and then there was a piece of me like, well, maybe she can't afford me, you know? But that's not the case, you know? She was one of my most grateful. She was in it with us, knee deep, elbows just going through. And she was so receptive to, okay, donate this, get rid of that. Let's pull this into here. And she hired us for another day. So 2 days. I loved her. I spent 2 days with her and so sweet.
I wonder how she went from hoarding all of that to like one day going, you know what, it's time. And because it sounds like very freely, because I would think that even somebody that invites you to their home in a situation like that, it's like, not that, oh, and not that, oh, and not that, and not that, and not that.
Yeah.
And you're like,
how
you know
they come, because she came mentally prepared.
Yes, very mentally.
Yes.
That feels like a
because,
big transition.
Yeah, I've been to homes where so after that I did go to another home and I'm like, okay, and they weren't as sweet. I don't know, they didn't play on my heart as well, I guess. But I said, call me back when you've reduced this house by 75%. And they never did.
That's quite a bit.
Well, at that one, it was a maze. I couldn't get through. I couldn't even see the countertops.
Oh,
it had to be 75%. I couldn't see anything.
Something out of like a TV show.
And so that's kind of where it's like, okay, they have to let's start at a phone call.
I also think, like I said, I could see your nursing side coming out. I can also see something about when you said, I used to go into these cold situations.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a surgical situation. Like you're walking into like, okay, guys, it's go time. Let's go.
I don't know
and
what
the door
we're gonna
opens.
find.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and that's
like,
exactly what it was.
there's a rush there. I can imagine there,
Yeah.
because I like a little bit of improv.
Yeah.
I do. I don't like stale things. I get monotony. My version of hell is working an assembly line.
Oh yeah.
Joey, you're going to put on the passenger side doorknob
Over and over.
for eternity.
For eternity.
Eternity. Like, no. So
Yeah.
I
No,
like
it's
that.
like trauma. So I
Yeah.
work in a trauma situation in the OR.
Yep.
We get a trauma, and everybody who works in the OR, we're a different breed of people. There's a switch that turns on, and we're in go and go. We don't know what's coming through the door. We don't know all that we're going to need, but we're all on, and we're going. And so to me, it's very different, but the same is like, we're going to open this door. And just, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to fix this. It's going to look better than when we found it.
That's what I was thinking when you said that. I thought you're like, we want the unknown.
Yeah.
We want it because that's part of the fun is that we have no idea where we're going to start.
Yeah.
One of these TV shows where they drop you in the middle of nowhere and you have to get home type thing. You're like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I know there's a piece of me that loves that, but with opening curated, that's my whole point is they're exhausting. Like the next day, we're exhausted as a team, and I want to be present for the store. I want to be present for my current clients, and so I don't know if I can do that still. And so I feel like I need to see the house in a situation and really, just for me and my team, evaluate to see if it's something we're willing to do to that scale.
Mental problem solving is incredibly physically exhausting. Magnus Carlsen, who is he's considered the greatest chess player of all time, and he's pretty much kind of retiring right now. Young guy, is just world champion. They measured in a day in a chess tournament, he lost 6 pounds.
Oh.
Just sitting, lost 6 pounds sitting doing chess. And you think like, wait, he's just sitting there. It's the kilowatts that your brain uses.
That's crazy.
The energy. No, yeah. So this idea of like, man, it's so exhausting versus physical labor where you didn't have, your mind didn't really have, you just put on your headphones and it's Van Halen.
I never thought about that, but I was trying to think, I thought it was like physical, but I can do that at my house and not be as exhausted. Like seriously, the next day I'm just wiped.
Because you're playing a master's chess game.
All day long.
Yeah, all day long. Just next move,
Look at
dodge,
this, look at
parry.
this. Where's it going? Where's it going? Can I use it? Can I use it? How could I pair it?
Yeah.
What room does it go in? Because that's how we start. We start with looking at one item at a time, picking it up, decision. This is going to go in the office. This is going in that room. This is going in this room. And the first half of the day is just getting everything into the room I want it in.
Yeah, just like I'm imagine with the OR schedule, they don't schedule you 5 days a week in the OR. That would be insane, right? Like it has to be staggered, right?
Some people are it just depends. You
Wow.
either 5/8s, 4/10s, or 3/12s.
Oh my, I would have thought like
Yeah.
every fourth day rotation or something just because you.
And there's call. It's an intense job. And then there's a ton of call. I'm only one day. I'm per diem, so I only work 1 day a week, and I don't have to take call anymore. I did it for 16 years. That's swearing.
Yeah, I struggle with it because first off, I don't want anything to do with anybody's bodily fluids. Okay, so let's just get that out in the open right now. Any type of bodily fluids. So the idea that we're just going to cut them open, clamp. Oh, look, we got an artery. I'm gonna hit the Gartin's down. Gartin's down. So that and then the idea of just people's lives being in your hands.
Yeah.
That the second piece. I don't even want the bodily fluids. I
Yeah.
don't, and then the second piece of like, well, don't mess up. That's intense. So I don't even know how I think it'd be much nicer to transition to helping someone redo their home.
Yeah.
Well, similar, but yet get the stress level down a
Well,
little
that's
bit.
what every time I get stressed out, I say to my team and to me, this isn't life or death. I've handled this. I've handled so much worse than this. This isn't life or death. Like if something happened, if a piece of furniture comes, damaged and we have to wait and the client gets upset, I'm like, and I feel myself getting upset that they're upset, that I've upset them. And then I'm like, stop. This is not life or death. You're going to wait a couple more weeks for your couch. I'm so sorry. It's not life or death. I know what life and death is. And I know that fight and flight feeling, and I'm not going to give to that. That is not this.
And if you could just truly convey that to
Yes.
hey, I'm going to come over tomorrow and we're going to talk about your furniture, but we're going to help somebody with brain surgery tonight, and then
Yeah.
I'll be over. And then it
Yeah.
just kind of quiets them down. They're just like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, oh my.
Oh.
So Curated opened 4 weeks ago.
Yes.
It's open to the public.
Open to the
It's not just
public.
interior design.
I know. Nope.
If you're
I don't
looking-
have signs. My sign isn't up on the building yet. So
You
therefore,
can't miss it though. It's all the walls are glass.
it's all glass.
Beautiful.
You can't miss it.
I mean, it's the corner of Market and Tama.
Market and Tama.
Market and Tama,
Yes.
where it used to be the split, the old karate, and right across from, I
The
think there's-
downtown Reading sign right there.
right there.
Seriously.
And it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for having
And
me.
absolutely.
It's been a fun conversation.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
Went
so.
all over the place.
Yeah, it did.
I
And
did not know what to expect, and here we are. I think we traveled the world, and
we
we're
didn't
here.
touch any of my questions.
Oh, good.
That's,
You didn't even flip over your piece of paper.
No, I didn't flip over the piece of paper because it's just, it's one of the things about the conversations. So we have a board, and so I did this before alone, and it was too much, and I wanted to do this, and so I said, okay, I need help, and so a board was put together, and the board was they had some inputs, and I was like, I can't do that. And they're like, wait, no, you got, like, they were kind of directing me, and I'm like,
Structure?
yeah, a little structure. And I'm like, guys, I don't do well with that. Remember, so I'm trying to grow. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe you do need structure. Maybe
Hence the list?
yeah, maybe you're fighting the very thing you need. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, reverse psychology. Okay, I get it. But I just, once the conversation going, especially it's fun to talk to you. It's fun meeting you, and it's a cool
I
topic.
appreciate this. Yeah, I appreciate how you did it, and
Well, thank you
I
very
think
much.
you're a good conversationalist.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
And you're gonna see me at Curated on the corner of
good.
Market and Tama. I'm gonna come and
Yes.
look at stuff.
It's
Thank
not
you so much.
karate.
Not karate.
Not karate anymore.
Okay. Till
Thank
next
you.
time.
Till
Thank
next
you.